Today we're talking about something a lot of buyers are curious about. Can you write a low offer on a home and still walk away with the keys? Maybe you found a house you like, but the price feels a little high or you're hoping to score a deal in this market. In this video, I'm walking you through a real-life offer we submitted to a for sale by owner well below asking, how we wrote it strategically, how the seller responded, and if we have a deal. Hey there, I'm Angela Bentley, your full-time realtor in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Let's dive into how it all played out and how you can do the same. I'm showing my screen here, and let's go into the purchase agreement. You're going to plug in the date here, which is today's date. We have the buyer that already populated in and the address. We got to put the township in there and the county. Okay, and the legal description. Heights. Okay, and then we include everything that the buyer is requesting from the property. And we're going to have the washer, the dryer, the deep freezer, the stove, the microwave, and then she even asked for a sewing machine table. Mechanics on the bottom. Okay, and then scroll down here to the price. We'll plug the price in here. And then we have the earnest money, which is typically 1% of the purchase price. So we're going to go with $1,500. And we will get that to the escrow agent, which I'm going to ask the title company to be the escrow agent. So we will get that to the title company within 2 business days after acceptance of the offer. And escrow agent to be, I'm going to put other, and that's going to be the title company. Okay, and then we scroll down here to method of payment, and this is going to be a new mortgage, going to be conventional. 97% of the purchase price is going to be the loan, and it's not payable in not less than 30 years because it's a 30-year mortgage. Okay, and then we'll scroll down here for time for obtaining financing, which they're already pre-approved. So I'm just going to put in here within 3 days after the acceptance of this agreement, buyer agrees to make written application for any financing necessary, which they've already done that. So we'll just put 3 days in there, and then approval no more than, I put 3 days in there also, after acceptance of this agreement shall be allowed for obtaining a loan approval, which they're already pre-approved. So, okay, we go down here to seller contributions. We will be asking the for sale by owner to be paying for the buyer broker compensation, which will be 3% of the purchase price. And we jump down here to closing. We're going to do a closing 30 days out from today, which would be July 18th. And that's on a Friday, so that's fine. That's day during the week. Then, let's see, we'll go down to, let's see, looking at my notes here. The settlement or closing fee by the title company, that will be shared equally there. I'm going to mark that this transaction is not contingent upon the closing of another transaction. So the buyers are renting right now, so they don't need to sell another property in order for them to close on this one. And we're going to scroll down here to possession. So the possession of the property shall be delivered to buyer at closing. That. Okay. And then we scroll down here to survey. We are going to waive the survey. So buyer shall receive waived. So we check that it's waived there. So we don't want to, they can't afford getting a survey. And this is a kind of a lower offer, and we don't want to ask them to pay for a survey. So we're just going to say waived there. Building use limitations. This is single family. It'll be owner occupied. Click that there. Homeowners insurance. They will obtain the commitment for homeowners insurance within 15 days after acceptance. Okay. Then we'll scroll down here to inspections. I always suggest that they get an inspection. So we'll mark buyer reserves the right to have independent inspections there. And we scroll on down to the inspection period, and they will have buyer shall order all independent inspections after acceptance of the purchase agreement. Buyer shall have 10 days beginning the day following the date of acceptance of the purchase agreement to respond to the inspection reports. We'll put that in there as 10 days. And then if anything comes up during the inspection period that we need to do a deep dive on and call some other contractors in to check on something else, then we will have another 10 days to do that. Sorry, I was jumping around there. Okay, let's get back up here. Okay, and then scroll down here to the limited home warranty program. Will not be provided, so nobody will be paying or providing for that. And as far as disclosures, the buyer has received the seller's residential real estate sales disclosure, so we do have that. But since this is a for sale by owner, they did not have their lead-based paint certification and acknowledgement form. So I'm going to mark here that buyer has not received it. Title approval. Buyer shall be furnished with a title insurance commitment. We mark that there. And as far as the owner's title insurance premium, we're going to put that the seller will pay for their part, and then the lender's title insurance premium, the buyer will pay for their part. We put that there. The parties agree that the buyer will select the title company insurance. So we're going to select that. We go down here to taxes. We're going to check here that all taxes that have accrued for any prior calendar year that remain unpaid shall be paid by seller either to the county treasurer or to the buyer in the form of a credit at closing. So that's pretty typical for Indiana. Taxes are paid in arrears. So that's a year behind. And then we scroll down here to homeowners association, which there isn't a homeowners association, so we're going to skip that. And we'll keep scrolling down here. There's some other additional provisions here. Here, and then we're going to put some further conditions in here. So there was some damage in the bathroom around the toilet, the flooring. I think the toilet is leaking. So we need to put a comment in here about that being fixed. Give it to my notes here. Okay, so the buyer requests that the seller, prior to closing, have the leaking toilet professionally repaired and the damaged flooring by the leaking toilet by the leak replaced by a licensed contractor. Okay, the buyer requests that the seller, prior to closing, have the leaking toilet professionally repaired and the damaged flooring by the leak replaced by a licensed contractor. Okay, all work must be completed in a professional manner with receipts provided to the buyer no later than 3 days prior to closing. Okay, we got that in there. Okay, then we jump down here to acknowledgments. So this is not a limited agency transaction. Now, even though this is a for sale by owner, I'm taking it as they can do their part themselves and they don't need my help. But if they do need my help, I will need to have them sign a limited agency transaction saying I'm kind of working for both the buyer and the seller, which I'm allowed to do in the state of Indiana. Okay, so then the expiration of this offer, we're going to put that we need a response by 6:00 p.m. and that will be tomorrow. So we'll be giving them a little more than 24 hours to get us a response. So, and then this will be where the buyer sign the offer, and then down here is where the seller will have their response. So that the above offer is accepted, the above offer is rejected, or the above offer is countered, and then see counteroffer. So that is that. That is how we fill out purchase agreement. So I will get this ready to go for my buyers to e-sign it, and then I will get this printed out and hand deliver it. So join me to see what happens next. see if we're going to get a deal together on this. They are asking 172.9 for the property. We're putting in an offer for 152,000. So we'll see if we can come to a deal. We didn't ask for closing costs, we didn't request a survey, and we kept contingencies to a minimum. Let me show you how strategy makes all the difference. So here's the deal. We found a home my buyer loved, but it was priced just a little high for the condition and market. We wanted to come in lower but not insult the seller. The key? Making the offer as clean and appealing as possible. We offered about 88% of the listing price, which many would consider a low ball, but we didn't ask the seller to pay any of the buyer's closing costs. That alone made our offer look stronger on paper compared to other lower net offers. In this offer, we kept things really clean and straightforward to make it as attractive as possible to the seller. The two contingencies were a minor toilet leak, flooring repair, and a home inspection just to protect the buyer in case something serious came up. Other than that, we didn't ask for the seller paid closing costs, a home warranty, or appraisal gap coverage. The goal was to present a fair and simple offer, one that showed we were serious but not demanding. It was clean, fair, and simple. So, as far as a lowball offer, there's no official legal or industry definition, but generally speaking, a lowball offer is one that's significantly below the seller's asking price, often around 90% or less of the list price. Now, what feels like a lowball to one seller might seem totally fair to another. It depends on the home's condition, how long it's been on the market, and how motivated the seller is. So the bottom line is if your offer is well below asking, it's going to raise eyebrows, but that doesn't mean it can't work. The seller countered the buyer's original offer and she came back at 152,000, basically selling it as is. She didn't want to do the repair for the toilet leak or the flooring. Then the buyer countered the seller's counteroffer, purchase price to be 150,000 due to the seller not repairing the leaky bathroom toilet and the damaged flooring. Then the seller came back and accepted the offer for $150,000 as is. To be completely transparent, I did give up $1,000 of my commission for them to get this house for $150,000. Getting a lowball offer accepted is possible. They ended up getting this house for 87% of the list price.